Hello, this is Rob Hirschfeld, and I'm going to do a short video, probably 15 minutes, to take you through how to build a Crowbar ISO for install. But I'm going to do it using the new Dev Tool because that method allows you to do more development, fix bugs, push requests. It's going to allow you to stay synchronized with our builds and also the branches of different builds much more easily. So this is our preferred method for doing Crowbar ISOs if you're going to be doing them on a regular basis. And I'm going to follow these steps through, but let you see it, talk you through some of the issues and items that you might find. The first thing we're going to do here is I just need to create a new VM. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to use the typical, and I want to use the installer disk using the easy install because that's going to let me take advantage of what's going on. I do not want to use 12.4 as tempting as that would be because in 12 the VMware tools aren't quite ready for that. So it's very new. When I wrote this, did this video, it's May 4th. Anyway, so I'm just going to set up Crowbar as my default user. It's handy for me to do that because we use Crowbar for everything. You can use whatever makes sense for your environment. So we'll create build demo. I don't want 20. I actually want a pretty big disk because you're going to be storing a whole bunch of ISOs and checkout files and dependencies on this disk. So large disk is handy. You won't necessarily use it all. I'll show you some cheats for that. And then when I come in to do my hardware, I definitely want to push up the RAM so I can take advantage of more RAM, more cores. I've got a lot on my machine, which is helpful. There's my ISO image. I don't need my floppy. I'm using a NAT configuration because I need outbound internet access. USB I don't need. Printers I don't need. Display is just standard. So sort of stripped everything out. And then I'm going to have to go back and set my shared folders once we're done. But at this point, it's going to go through and just lay down the operating system. So this is the first thing that we need to take care of. I don't need to do that. And I'll come back in a couple minutes after I get to the login prompt. All right, so we've gotten to a point where we can talk about the next steps. I need to log in, of course, and I'm going to go ahead and become root, and then I'm going to do an apt-get install SSH. It's always handy to have SSH, so I can actually come in and get that done. Always exciting to watch software install itself. What I will do while I wait for that is I'm going to look at my settings here, and then if I've done this right, I can enable shared folders, which I want to do, and then I'm going to create a path. I have a whole bunch of ISOs in there. I want that. It's always handy. That one could have been read-only. Good. I'm going to add the same folder, but top of that. So I have a source folder. These are just my preferences. And then I also, those are the two I need to make this stuff work. That's good. That's important. I've got an SSH installed, so the first thing I'm going to do, drop back to being Crowbar user. I'm going to make my SSH directory, and I'm going to add my key so I can SSH in with my key. It's always handy to be able to do, and I can do that from the HDFS partition source. My key is in there. DRSA. There's my public key, and I'm going to copy that into authorized keys. It's a nice little cheat for the first one. Don't do that if it's not your first one. Excellent. So now I am in Crowbar root, and I can come back and SSH. Highly recommend the SSH piece. Let me figure out what IP address I am. I am 134 here. Oops, that's my recording screen. Need to be Crowbar to 168.120.134. And then to make all this work correctly, I'm going to have to get my key file. There's my key file for this. That's excellent. Let's open it up. First time I come in, it's going to ask. Yay, my key comes in. So it's just convenient for me to be able to do SSH so that I can cut and paste more easily. I prefer it over the VMware console. So now that I've done all that, everything's good. I'm going to need some copies here. I'll show you how to get around some of that. First thing I want to do is an apt-get update. I'm not going to keep showing you the screen. You can look at that on your own. And I have sudo here. Let's do this. I need to be in root for a little while, so let's move into root, assuming I can type my password correctly. Now I want to do an apt-get update, and it's just going to make sure I've got everything up to date. After I come get that done, I have some more apt-gets. I'll come back for that. Okay, so that took quite a bit of time to do that apt-get update, so not surprising. I'm not on fancy high-end corporate network. So now I just need to take the next step, bring in the packages that we need specifically. I won't name them, they're in the docs. Go to the docs every time because sometimes we add stuff and you want the real list. This is the current list. So I'm going to just go in and add in all these dependencies. Very important to have git, RPM, all those pieces. So we're going to go through that. I'll be back when all these modules are installed. So that took a bit of time, and I'm back. Almost done though with the prelim stuff. I need to install JSON. Not JSON, sorry. Say I type. Now that I've installed the gem, I can exit and be back to my Crowbar user. It's very important that you install this from the Crowbar user or your whatever root account, whatever account you're using, your user account, not the root account. So the next thing is for me to be able to clone out the code. So that is this instruction. Dev Tool is, because of the way it works, is expecting you to have a GitHub account. If you don't have one, create one, no charge. If you don't want a GitHub account, you just want to do read-only builds, then just use the other process. It's pretty straightforward. So I'm going to do a git clone. I'm going to pull in the Crowbar Git repositories, and now I'm back in waiting land while we go through the clone and Crowbar process. So I'll let that happen. Sound check. So at this point, pull these out of the way. I have pulled in the Crowbar repo. That's a pretty small repo. Remember, the Crowbar GitHub repo is just really the build infrastructure. Then we pull in all the bar clamps, which include Crowbar and all the components that go with it. So the next thing for me to do here is go into the Crowbar directory itself. You can see here's the bits and pieces of Crowbar. First thing I'm going to want to be able to do is build Sledgehammer. But before I do that, I want to set something up in Dev Tool. And I want to do that because I need the some of the OSs and some of the redirections that I'm going to get by doing the setup. So I need my GitHub username. I am Cloud Edge. And then my GitHub password. So now it's going to come in and it actually sets up my personal fork. I want to explain what's going on here because this is really important to the whole process and how Dev Tool works. So this is the GitHub for the main Crowbar site on Cloud Edge. So this is my personal branch. So this is the account I created to manage the project. And what you'll see in here is that I actually have my own copy, my own fork of the Crowbar project. And the same would be true if I have a bar clamp Crowbar. This is my own personal fork. See, it's forked from the Dell Cloud Edge version. When you use Dev Tool is going to create forks for you for all the bar clamps that are relevant in Crowbar. And that's actually part of the plan. So it's very important to understand the way DevTool operates is that you do all your coding on your personal forks of each bar clamp that you're working in, and then you will do a push request to make the change. So anytime you want to make a change, the DevTool is going to help you do a pull request. I have some other videos that show that. This isn't the goal here. But it'll automatically take you through that process. The reason it's really important to use DevTool is that even the most simple change to a bar clamp is going to result in multiple pull requests against multiple projects, which is confusing because we interconnect all these submodules together to build Crowbar up. And modularity is really important to how the project's structured. However, because it's important, we also wanted to make it a little bit easier to use. So what I can do is I can do a dev setup. Sorry, I've already done dev setup. I can find out what release I'm on. So I'm on a personal feature branch for some switch configuration I was working. I don't want to be on that for this demo. I want to actually be on, I want to switch to the Sshh hack branch. This is what we've been using to build up Sshh. Sometime in mid-May, we're going to switch, and that'll be mainline trunk. We'll merge it all together. But it's actually switching the release right now. So when I do this dev switch, it's going and checking out the relevant bar clamps. So you'll see I get deployer, I'll get a whole bunch of pieces. Using switch is how we go back and forth to different branches. If I had done dev.dev releases, plural, it would have shown me all of the releases that I could move back and forth to. One of the things we really want to encourage people to do is to use personal branches and release branches so that we can have a consistent branching strategy. DevTool will help you set those up, set up feature branches, set up personal branches, so that you can do code development that isn't in mainline and then push everything together after you've done a test run and ISO build. So a lot of that I'm going to explain in other videos where we talk about specific development with DevTool, but I want to take a second to explain how that operates so you can understand the bits and pieces. I'm going to let this build and then I'll come back. So I've got the build complete here, and it's time for me to do the next step. Actually, I want to show you dev releases. So this is going to show you the releases that are available. This is my personal one. And then Fluttermouse is our 1.2 branch. Development is main trunk. Sshh hack is where we started working on the Sshh OpenStack Sshh pieces. So I can do a dev checkout master, and that'll make sure I have the master pieces. If I want to do a dev checkout OpenStack, open source build, what that's going to do is it's going to bring in all the extra bits and pieces that I need for doing an open source build, OpenStack build, which is where I'm driving with this video. So you'll see me pulling in all those pieces. So at this point, I am on the OpenStack build on the Sshh release branch. So those are the combination of things I'm going to be pulling together to do this build. As we go, it's going to take a little bit of time. Still got to pull a lot of bits and pieces. I'll come back when that's done. So using DevTool, I check those things out. I can do a git branch, see where I stand with this, and you can see I'm in release Sshh hack OpenStack OS build. At this point, I am almost ready to start doing the OpenStack builds. Now, you wouldn't have to do all these steps. Some of the you would definitely need to do a dev checkout, a dev switch, dev checkout master like I've done, and a dev switch Sshh hack or development if that's what you want. Dev switch development. So those development, and if I was going to check out the OpenStack OS build, that would get me an OpenStack, or I could check out the Cloudera OS build. That would bring me the Hadoop pieces. So the trick is right now we're about to start doing some actual building. But before I do that, I want to jump back to my root directory, look at all the files. In this file, I have a build crowbar conf. Sorry, I need to edit this. So in this file, it doesn't have very much interesting. But what I do want to do here is I want to edit this file. And I want to edit it so that it points to my ISO library. So what I'd like to do here is I don't want to bring the ISOs in. I already have all the ISOs I need if you're doing VMs, and this is a convenience. So I can show you where I have them. I remember I did the share, so mount HDFS ISO. Those are the ISOs that I would want to do a build from. Notice I'm going to need the CentOS 6.2 to do our Sledgehammer build. That's the dissolvable boot image that we use for discovery. And then I'm going to need Ubuntu 12.04 to build the OpenStack Essex components. So the way I accommodate this is I need to edit my build crowbar comp file, and I'm going to add in the ISO library. I actually have it as a cheat on my screen right here behind me. Here it is, ISO library. So my ISO library is going to be mounted HDFS ISOs. And then one of the things I like to do, because it saves me actually a bit of time, is I like to tell it to put my ISO back on my local hard drive. That lets me build a new VM from it. So I highly recommend doing this. So in this case, what I'd want to do is I'd want to drop it into Crowbar. So let me show you over here. Here's a build demo, VM, settings, options, shared folders. To make this work, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to say c:/temp. This is where I store it. Crowbar. That's where I like to keep my ISOs. I call that Crowbar. I want to be able to push there. So now at this point, this is my GitHub ID, and then my library is going to go in the HDFS ISOs, and then the destination is going to be mount HDFS Crowbar. I save this file, and now I'm ready to start building. There's a lot of other variables and settings that you can use if you want to take advantage of everything in Dev Tool, including ways to have personal inside your firewall repos and change the path for where your build caches are and things like that. It's out of what I'm trying to do here. We found that it's very tricky to do a shared cache, so it's going to bring when we do the build, we're going to bring in a whole bunch of extra pieces. That's normal. You can try and move that outside your VM, but we've found that it's tricky to do it shared, so it's handy to just leave it in the VM. So now that I've told it where to go get the ISOs, I don't have to rebuild those things. What I want to do next is I actually need to build Sledgehammer. It's that starter image. Very easy to get Sledgehammer to build. All you need to do is from the Crowbar directory, I just have to say build Sledgehammer. So build Sledgehammer. Oops. I need to not add an extra character. Password for Crowbar here is my local password, right? It's trying to make me a sudoer. One of the things that we're going to recommend, and I don't think it's documented on the wiki, hopefully it will be by the time you're reading this, is to make yourself a sudoer without requiring passwords. I'll update that on the wiki page so it's there for you. I would add that as a step, or you're going to be prompted to be sudoer at certain points in the build process. But as you can see, we're going through. It takes a little while to build Crowbar. It's actually building a full ISO for this dissolvable Sledgehammer image, which is PXE booted by the systems based on CentOS. So I'm going to let it go through that process. Come back when it's done. Okay, that took a bit of time. I've now created the ISO for Sledgehammer. Let's see where I put it. Back a little bit. So I have this Crowbar build cache. In here I have Sledgehammer now. So you can see it pulled in CentOS and Sledgehammer. And there's the CentOS version of it, live CD, image, cache, all those pieces. That's what I need to get incorporate sledgehammer into the build. So I'm going to go back to where I can actually do a full build from. And at this point, we are just about ready to do the full build, which is exciting. So I'm going to make sure I have the latest from Dev Tool. So I'm going to do a Dev Tool fetch. I'm out of sync, so I'm going to do a dev setup. Dev Tool will tell you a lot of things about what's going on. In this case, I think I'm out of sync because I have multiple versions of my builder running. But that's been something that happens. If you have questions or problems with Dev Tool, please let us know. We actually spend a lot of dev effort making this tool better. We take a lot of active feedback. We want to hear from you about how things are going. And it's important to make this stuff work so that we can all collaborate together. It's worth noting that all of the Teams pushes also come through DevTool. We use push requests even internally. So the same processes that we're asking the community to follow, we follow. And all of our development, as I like to say, is in the open. So you can actually see the latest code. You can watch what's going on with what we're doing. And we are constantly discussing and trying to find ways to incorporate more community input, help make things more transparent and more accessible. So please let us know. We will take your input seriously. It's going to take me a little while to get through this. I'll come back when we're at the next step. So I did my dev fetch. It remembered pretty much where I was. It told me where I switched the branch to. I want to get back to, I'm on the SXHack release, but I want to do a checkout of OpenStack open source build. Good. There's all the bar clamps. Once you have everything fetched, it's quick to move back and forth between everything, which is exactly what you'd expect. Once again, all this stuff is off the documentation. And if you were reading along in the instructions, you'll notice that I have not done all the instructions in here because I'm missing some of the things I need for precise for the 1204 Ubuntu. So I need to run that. So I'm going to do this symbolic link before I do the next step. So I have to be a sudoer, of course. There we go. So now I've created this link, and then I'm also going to update my single line sudoers list. Once again, I have to be a sudoer to make that happen. So that'll eliminate me having to keep retyping my password. So now I can come in here and say update cache. And now it's going to go through and do a build and pull in all the prerequisites for the metadata from the bar clamp. So what we're doing in the build right now is we're actually going through and pulling in all the packaging that's identified in the bar clamps as necessary. And it's retrieving them. If there's duplicates, it doesn't retrieve duplicates, so it's doing all that reconciliation based on exactly the packages we want. It's going to take a while because it's building up the cache and the build cache. So I'll come back when that's done. So now we just finished and built my ISO, and the key is right here. This is the ISO image that was output from Crowbar. You notice it shows us that we included OpenStack in this, and that's it. I can jump over to my C:\Crowbar, and now you will see this is the new ISO. We'll have a whole nother video on how you actually install that and run with it. We've got a network configuration for VMs that allows you to connect them to the internet and do a full range test, which is really exciting. That's for another video. But for now, create your GitHub account, get rolling, build some Crowbar ISOs, and start contributing back patches and fixes if you find issues that are needed. Thank you very much, and have a great day with Crowbar.